Oh, and taxes are very important. Okay, without tax, a government would be unable to run a country. So any government, and not only this country, but all governments of a country, they have to figure out how to raise revenue to provide goods and services to its citizens,
Hmm.
and they do that, most of them, by virtue of taxes.
Hi, guys, and welcome to another episode of Beyond the Business podcast. This is a space where entrepreneurs, business professionals, and creative can safely share their stories, highlight some of their struggles, and of course, we celebrate successes over here. All right, and with me, I have a very special guest, my dear cousin, Gillian. Thank you so much for joining me. So, Gillian is an attorney at law by profession, and she has a fantastic story in store for us today. So, we're going to start. Then give me a little bit of insight. Let me know where it started and a little bit about your journey and your professional background as well.
Okay, nice having me here, Abraham. Really a beautiful cousin. Yes. Well, I have been doing law for over 33 years. So I
Mhm.
started is when I finished high school because I did mostly the science subjects. I suppose I thought I would have done medicine, but my father encouraged me to do law because he
Mhm.
found I always argued with him. So I did law, and whereas everybody else would do the what you will call the more exciting topics like company law or even family law or criminal law,
Mhm.
they will gravitate towards those. I chose to do revenue law. I specialized it. I took that as one of the main courses.
Revenue law. That's not something you hear a lot of person gravitating towards. So
Precisely.
really interesting. How did you find your space or find yourself going into that particular space?
Oh, well, to take you back a little further, when I was in high school, I recall
Mm-hmm.
there was a quiz. We were taught taxes, very basic things. I
Mm-hmm.
can't even remember what in particular. Very basic things about tax, and I was fascinated by it. There were quizzes, and I would always top the class. So I
Mm-hmm.
suppose it didn't intimidate me. But you're right, most people are intimidated by revenue law. They don't know anything about it. Even while we were studying, the revenue law class were really very small. It would have been,
Mm-hmm.
whereas the other classes might have 50 persons, there were just about 15 of us, a very intimate class. Yes, yes.
Where did you carry out your studies in law?
Okay, I started off right in Trinidad and Tobago.
Mm-hmm.
Thereafter, I went to Barbados. We
Mm-hmm.
had no option then. Now there's an option that you can do the entire 3 year degree program in
Yeah.
Trinidad. But at the time, I had to go to
To
Barbados. So we
Barbados.
did it. I did it in Barbados.
And well, I know moving away from from home and then
Mhm.
going across to Barbados. What was that experience?
Oh, it was
It was nice,
exciting.
because Barbados is gorgeous.
It's gorgeous, but it's also the freedom, you're no longer
Hmm.
under your parents. I was a young person, like about just after high school, 18, 19,
Yeah.
so in your own for the first time. And well, in Barbados, the Trinidadians on the whole, because it's at the University of the West Indies,
Hmm.
where there are many persons from other islands, and the Trinidad and Tobagonians, we are known as the party
Big party
animals.
animals.
And I remember one lecturer, he told all the others students
Mm.
don't follow the Trinis.
They want to
Yeah,
hear about
because
it.
we can party and we still pass our exams.
Not
So
everybody has that skill. That is a
precisely.
very special skill. As Trinidadians, I think we own and we party and then we go right to work afterwards.
Precisely. And we passed our exams. I'm not aware of
Exactly.
anybody who failed the exam because they party too
Party.
much.
Hmm.
We party, we enjoyed ourselves, and we passed our exams. And the
Well,
lecturers warned them not
well,
to follow us.
imagine that. Look at so after you've completed your studies in Barbados, I'm guessing at this point in time you're looking at yourself, you're trying to figure out where your career is going to lead into. And what was the first step you took after you completed?
Okay, well, when I graduated in 1990, when I started
Mm-hmm.
to work, I don't know if you were born then.
I wasn't
I
able
know
to.
you were born in 1990. We had this uprising in Trinidad. There was a
Hmm.
lot of discontent in the islands, both
Hmm.
islands. Port of Spain had just undergone this coup, but Port
Hmm.
of Spain had burnt down. It was really difficult to get jobs, and people were migrating. But anyhow, I had applied and I got a job at the Board of Inland Revenue.
Hmm.
I felt at the time I wasn't getting the job because I said I started in August, and it's in late July there was this coup in
Mm.
Port of Spain. I said, oh my gosh, there's no way I'm getting this job.
Yes,
But the government did call me, and it was right up my alley again, doing revenue law, actually doing it at the Board of Inland Revenue.
and I will also imagine going into the Board of Inland Revenues, and you speak about the society at that point in time being a bit unstable.
Very.
So I'm guessing even more so now, we need to focus on the revenue generation or the revenue accountability on the island. I don't know if that was
Well, well, well,
probably
but,
fair
but,
to say.
you're on the right track,
Mm-hmm.
because revenue was very important in those days. And the revenues of the government had fallen drastically.
Mm-hmm.
Because the revenues of the government had fallen drastically, they attempted to cut the salaries of public servants. Now you could imagine they cut
Oh,
someone's salary.
oh boy.
This is what happened.
Oh boy.
So because the salaries were cut, and there was a lot of discontent right through out the nation. So when I came in there, what we do, basically we advise in the government, the Board
Mm-hmm.
of Inland, through the Board of Inland Revenue, as to how to interpret the law. Enough, we always interpret it in a fair and reasonable manner. It's not
Mm-hmm.
a draconian manner as you may think.
Correct.
So it started off with me being in the legal department, and it was really advising on tax issues. Very
Mm-hmm.
at the time, one of the things I recall is that a number of persons were just withdrawing their funds for pension plans, and we
Oh,
had to address those issues. Should
yeah.
we? Because under the law, really, they don't want you to withdraw from a
No, they
pension
don't.
fund. But a lot of people, they were withdrawing it, so we were called upon to exercise our discretion. And I remember there were a number of sad cases, young persons like yourself coming in saying, "Look, I lost my job, I'm migrating, I have no money coming in, so I need to get back a refund." And
Mm-hmm.
based on what you tell me, I felt sorry for a number of them. I agreed to give them the refund. Right?
Hmm.
So that I recall that in those days, in
Yeah.
1990 when I started.
So one of the main reasons as well I wanted us to have this discussion was to dive into the topic of tax. All right. So the whole conversation around taxes has come back again. All right. We're here again in the situation where we are hearing a lot of information as to property taxes coming on board, and of course there's a lot of disinformation around that. Now I'm going to leave into a property tax aspect just for a little bit down the road, but I wanted to kind of what they call humanize the whole taxation process, not whether it be for business, whether it be for someone's personal interest, etc. How important is tax to your society or to our society?
Oh, and taxes are very important. Okay, without tax, a government would be unable to run a country. So any government, and not only this government, and not only this country, but all governments of a country, they have to figure out how to raise revenue to provide goods and services to its citizens,
Mm-hmm.
and they do that, most of them, by virtue of taxes. So in Trinidad right now, the means that is used to raise taxes, we have Income Tax Act,
All right.
that is for individuals like you and I, an
Mm-hmm.
employee. No, no, when you were an employee, not so you would have been,
Yeah.
income tax would have been applicable then.
Correct.
Companies, a business, they fall for corporation tax, so they
Mm-hmm.
wanted Corporation Tax Act. And there are a number of other taxes like value added tax, which is a tax on transactions, on a sale.
Mm-hmm.
As such, there's a tax raise there. So government figured out how to raise taxes to provide all the goods and services to its country. Now people take it for granted. In Trinidad and Tobago, if I tell you the amount of goods and services that the government provides, you can look at tax in that way and you may see it more favorably. So for example, let me just give you an
Mm-hmm.
example. You know that education for the most part is free in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes, right. Yes,
And when
I
you say
have
it's free,
free.
it's free to you, your parents, and all that.
Correct.
So from early childhood, primary school, secondary school, and maybe when you were in
Hmm.
tertiary education, it was free also
Correct.
then.
Yes,
And
I did my program free as well.
it's free
Mm-hmm.
to you. But it's the government that have borne that cost. You must appreciate there are several schools that are built. There are teachers that they have to pay for, and these programs that have to be implemented.
Mm.
So it's free to you. But how can a government build all those schools and have all those teachers to provide you with all those services?
Mm-hmm.
It's through taxes. So that's just one issue.
One. Mm-hmm.
And sometimes people don't appreciate it because education is not free in every country of the world, and don't take that for granted.
And I think when you say that the fact that education is not free across the world, at least readily accessible the way it is here, I think that also adds a greater appreciation for what it is here, and I think it's a bit of not fully understanding the process because you can't appreciate what you don't understand.
Precisely.
And I think we need to definitely do a little bit more, not me per se, but I'll play my part. But I think there needs to be more of the education part of taxes it should be included in our school system. You hear people talk about it, but we should be able to understand by the time of leaving school, this is the importance of tax. This is how it's paid. This is how we can utilize it. In other countries, people tend to utilize tax for their benefit. Could you identify one way, let's say a business, all right, can utilize tax to benefit them?
Okay, when we say a benefit here, we're talking about a way that you can minimize your tax. So if in fact you use one corporate structure, you would pay a higher rate than if you use another corporate structure. So that's a way where you can use the benefit. A number of ways where you can benefit also is what we call incentives that the government or the law provides. For example, currently 2024, the cybersecurity allowance, which is a big deal, is up to $500,000 if a company procures any software to protect its information technology. It can claim a deduction of $500,000. Also, another one that's introduced, if you're minded, and a lot of we encourage companies to be mindful of their communities and to invest in their communities, to invest in schools in the communities. So that's another allowance that they are introducing this year. If this company invest in a school, it can also claim it back as a deduction. It can be a public or private school.
So in this case, you reap the benefits of giving, of being charitable. So we should see more organizations tapping into giving, to supporting our institutions and stuff like that.
And you feel better as a person.
Exactly.
When you get, it's a psychological.
You do feel good.
You feel better as a person that you're helping out your community. And a lot of people do it right now. They may assist a school, as I say, but now you can get a deduction for it. Okay.
Look at that. So much incentives. And again, I want to go back onto the educating part, because I remember when I started registering my business, I think sometimes when you walk out of the registry's office now, I don't know if maybe it's not their responsibility or maybe it's an oversight on their part. After you register your business, there are a whole host of other things that you need to do that you're completely unaware of. Getting the information to set up a business account, getting your NIS, getting your tax, getting your VAT registration, etc. Nobody teaches you these things. But then you hear situations where the government is not able to claim taxes on situations, or there are outstanding taxes on corporations, etc. But no one took the time or the moment to explain, here's what. After you register your business, I need to go to the Board of Inland Revenue and get this set up. Now, granted, it is in fact the priority of the business to do that. But I believe if it is, you give that information a little bit more upfront, you can also see, maybe that's just my opinion, you can see a raise in revenue, because now you're having these persons registering their information and, of course, applying their taxes and stuff like that accordingly. My opinion. I don't know.
Abram, you're absolutely correct. And I'm glad to hear you saying that. And I think we're on the same page. This is why, I'm retired from the corporate world. And I said, I have all this knowledge. There are a lot of small businesses out there, big ones also, medium-sized ones. They seem to be overwhelmed by taxes. They don't know what has to be done.
It is intimidating, yeah.
It is intimidating. I said, so let me see how I can package that and give them some information to make it as easy as possible. Unlike foreign companies, let's suppose foreign companies, maybe they have a system where once you register a business, you get information. A lot of foreign companies, this is what I did a lot of. If a foreign company comes to Trinidad, before it spends any money here, the first thing it finds out is what is the tax impact of carrying on business here. Foreign companies. So all the years when I was in private practice, for the last 23 years or so in private practice, 10 years at the Board of Inland Revenue, then 23 years at a professional services firm, two of them, foreign companies always ask, before I spend any money here, I want to know what's the tax impact of my business. What do I have to do? And this is what, and we will be advising them that first of all, you have to register when you form your business with the Board of Inland Revenue. And you not only have to register, you have to, the company itself, the corporation tax, you also have to register for VAT if you meet a certain threshold. The threshold right now is $600,000. You also have to register if you have employees, or as an employer, you have to register at the Board of Inland Revenue.
Correct.
So that's 3 registrations there. And then after, as you said, you still have to go and register with the National Insurance Board. And in addition to all the registration, you have to be compliant. And compliant means filing all your returns when they are due. As a company, taxes are due quarterly, so they must be paying these taxes quarterly.
Exactly.
As a company, also, you are responsible for withholding the taxes of your employees under the PAYE mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
And that tax must be remitted to the BIR every month by the 15th of
Every month.
So you have to file those returns every month also. You see, that's another file.
A lot of things that people don't
Don't
know.
value added tax, you have to file that every 2 months. And I remember telling people you have monthly filings, you have bi-monthly filings, and you have quarterly filings, and you have annual filings.
And
so
a lot of, and again, so I'm gonna give this here tip to the Revenue Board of Trinidad and Tobago. Do your due diligence. Maybe you can do a collaboration with the registry board and let's get that education out there. Because I believe the more educated persons we have out there, the more ability we have to be able to acquire or gather those taxes from those boards, at least make them comfortable with the process. Because we mentioned BIR, we mentioned NIS, we mentioned PAYE. And I know by the second term we mentioned, there are a lot of persons already start to get flustered and scared and feel intimidated by the process. So that's why they tend to run away. But if we do our part in terms of educating, bringing that knowledge, I think we could do. That's a free plug. All right, yeah. That's a free plug for you guys. All right. So I want to go on to your career itself. Now, I know you had your career at the Board of Inland Revenues. Of course, you've also worked on the highest levels with some of the biggest corporations when it comes to taxes, etc. Where are you now in your career? You mentioned that you're retired and now you're teaching or you're passing on that knowledge to persons. Give us a little bit insight as to what that looks like.
So I spent 10 years at the Board of Inland Revenue. And I hear you saying that the Board of Inland Revenue maybe should go out there and inform persons. I don't even think they have a lot of information out there. But I suppose sometimes it's up to a young person. They have registered a business, go into them and get the information. And now there's online. You can go onto the website also. It's ird.gov.tt. There's a lot of information.
You're right. It is.
But I agree with you. Maybe there needs to be a little more reaching out.
Maybe be an arrow point and say, it's here.
That is why also I think the government of the day has been trying to convert the Board of Inland Revenue over into what we call the Trinidad and Tobago Revenue Authority, and it's hoping that that authority will be a more the face of revenue collection, and that people will be more gravitated towards it. And they'll be more compliant.
Because I've seen over the years, we saw some changes in different aspects of registration, even registering for a business. The whole system of doing that has drastically changed and has been a lot easier for persons to now go ahead with that process. So I really hope they reach to the point where we make it a lot more accessible.
Well, you see, right now, yes, that's online. So the Board of Inland Revenue right now also, you can do a lot of the registration. You can start the process online, but you may still have to go in, right?
Yeah.
So I spent 10 years at the Board of Inland Revenue doing taxes, as I say, advising the government on laws and how to implement it and assisting collection. You would not know also, but in 1990, VAT was introduced for the first time. And okay, so I went around the country and was prosecuting people then to be compliant with VAT. They weren't filing their VAT returns. Wow. Every 2 months you have to file the VAT returns. Some of them, they were charging the VAT, but not remitting it over to the Board of Inland Revenue. But I think we have gone a long way from that. So that was, but I did a lot of VAT then. And after the Board of Inland Revenue, I went into private practice and I worked at 2 professional services firms. They're called the Big Four. So they're Big Four globally professional services firm, but they're based here in Trinidad. So and the Big Four, they tend to have clients with deep pockets, big clients in the oil sector, in the manufacturing sector, in the financial services sector. So I advise a lot of clients in those areas. And I suppose maybe because they were foreigners coming in here, most of the clients, multinational corporation, they just know, look, we need to find out about that.
They're already knowledgeable about it.
In their country, they have it. But I agree with you. A small business like, you and I, we don't start enough, we don't know. It's still up to you to find out. Because if you run afoul of the law, there's severe penalties and interest. Not to mention, your whole reputation is tarnished, and you feel better if you're contributing.
Exactly. What is that? The code is saying law.
Ignorance of the law is not an excuse.
Ignorance of the law is not an excuse.
So before you start your business, as I say, it's good to this is where I can come in. Before you start your business, I say before so that you know upfront. You say knowledge gives you power. With the knowledge of what you have to do, you can confidently go forward and do what you want to do.
I agree with that. So I think even as business owners, we need to also be a little bit more proactive in what we approach. Find out, know what you don't know.
Precisely. It could be intimidating, but basic things like your income tax, corporation tax, and your VAT, you should find out about all that.
Very important.
Yeah. But I find they have been changing.
Yeah, they have become a lot more people friendly, you know.
But I agree with you.
Yeah,
we should be out there.
do some more work on that. So we're here now. You're offering your services, you're offering your wealth of knowledge, and I know it has been some time. I mean, you mentioned you've been in this thing before. All right, so now you have this accumulation of knowledge, and give me a little walkthrough as to what it is you're going to be offering, or what it is you're already offering, and what what does your average customer look like?
Okay, well, let me tell you the last one. The average customer is someone just like yourself. And my target was really, I was thinking about small businesses because I know big business can more or less take care of themselves.
Correct.
So small businesses may be at a loss, they may be overwhelmed. I'm aware that the government is trying to implement the Revenue Authority where they're going to be enforcing tax compliance more. Correct. So people may be getting away now, but I think very soon, I believe, that you won't be able to get away like that. And it's a financial issue really. It will going to cost you more if you avoid taxes. It's better you know upfront. So I started out, I said, okay, I'm going to offer all these courses. So I'm offering a training session. It's all online too, because I know in this day and age, everyone is so busy.
Correct.
It's all online, and you can attend live, or you can get recordings. Okay, so different courses. So the first one is we're doing is corporation taxes that are applicable to all companies. I want to update it. I'm going to give you updated information as to all the allowances. Sometimes people they aren't aware that for taxes, you make a gross amount, let's say $100, you're entitled to deduct all your expenses that you incur. That's all your rental, all your advertising, the cost of operation, all your expenses you can claim as a deduction. And then, if you invest in something, as I say, like school, you may get the opportunity to also deduct more. So that way, you're minimizing your taxes. From your income, you have all these deductions, as I said, and then you pay tax. The current rate is 30% for the average company. So if you know that up front, won't you feel better already?
Exactly.
As a company. So that's the first tax I'm going to deal with. What I realize also is some people, they know tax, but they don't realize that it has been updated 10 years ago. They are not aware of some of the new allowances that they can...
almost so far I've recognized every budget we get some new incentive,
So that's one area, corporation tax. Then I'm going to be looking at the income tax. It affects everybody, everybody. And again, also... people aren't aware that the personal allowance, which is the first amount that you get as a deduction, right? It's not taxable. The first $90,000 in a year is not taxable. Are you aware of that? That's a significant amount.
I'm going to be joining that course. We have a lot to learn. And because, I mean, we are having this conversation. You're operating with the field, so you have the knowledge. But as a business owner, sometimes you're so caught up in the operations of your business, you do miss. You do miss the opportunity to reduce your taxes, reduce your expense, probably get some incentives for your purchase. You probably just don't know. So I think I commend what it is you're doing as well, because, like I said, we need more of that. And sometimes the space in the market, that's where we fit in, and that's where we are able to optimize, build our businesses upon, and of course, connect all the stakeholders, from the business owner to the revenue authority. Now, and look at that, we all get and make our money.
So you're smiling already, because once you know, you're more confident about your business.
Exactly.
Once you know, you're confident about it. So I was telling you, yes, for individuals, the first $90,000, there are no taxes on that, and there are other deductions that an individual is entitled to. So, for example, a $60,000 contribution to a pension plan, individuals can claim that as a deduction annually, $60,000. So that too can reduce your taxes. Also, if you have children, up to $75,000 for tertiary education you spend on your child. Well, it must be for an extra regional institution. You can claim that as a deduction also. And also first-time homeowner, I want to tell you that.
First-time
You can claim
homeowners
up to $30,000 every year for 5 years as a first-time
as a
home
first-time homeowner.
homeowner. You must show, of course, well, if you acquire a home,
Mm-hmm.
you can claim $30,000 every year for 5 years for purchasing a
On
home.
the home ownership.
So, and there are a number of other little incentives. And I realize if people are aware of this, sometimes you may find out employers themselves may not be aware, may not be up to date of all these, and you may be paying more taxes. I have seen that they're paying more taxes than they should because they didn't realize that they had all these deductions that they were entitled to.
And of course, the government will not go and be like, nah, you overpaid.
Well,
No, they wouldn't know.
exactly. Besides,
They wouldn't
unless they
know.
audit you and they get detailed
Yeah,
information,
yeah.
because the system that we have right now is voluntary compliance. They
Yes.
prefer that you file your return and everything is, well, not individuals, but that you will file what we call a TD1. When you start employment, commencement of employment, you file a TD1 and you declare what your deductions will be. If it's a pension fund, if it is you have first time homeowner, if it is you have a child abroad and you want to claim the education allowance, if you can claim all that, you declare all that upfront when you start the employment at the beginning of the year in the TD1. So there's no need for you to file a return. Your employer will be advised as to what deductions.
Yeah, I heard someone say even things like your maintenance. Yeah.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
maintenance something that you could
Yeah, you
claim
claim
back
as
for?
under alimony and maintenance, and there's no limit on that. It's a full amount, right? So if it is the alimony or maintenance, the full amount that is paid, you can claim that as a deduction. The other side of that too is the recipient must pay taxes on it too. But knowledge is power still.
Knowledge is truly power. Because think about this. Think about it like this. You're in a situation you have to pay maintenance. I mean, the grumbles and the emotions and all of that. Not knowing you have an opportunity to claim back for that. And I think we have gotten so comfortable operating outside of the system that when we actually bring some structure to it, it seems a bit intimidating. But look at that, knowing that you could have claimed back for that and knowing that the recipient has to pay taxes. I would be like, hey, do you pay your taxes? Because I get my returns.
Precisely. So, as I said, the knowledge is power. And, when you find out, it makes sense to you. And if you think about the services that you're getting from the government, I suppose paying the taxes should become more palatable.
All right. So we partially mentioned in passing the property tax. And I want to take our time to kind of dissect that whole conundrum. All right. We're hearing property tax is going to be introduced or should already be introduced from the beginning of this year, January 2024. A lot of people are skeptical. A lot of people are scared. People are worried. There are a lot of disinformation going on. Can you help us make some sense as to what the property tax involves and what we can expect?
Okay. Yes, you're quite correct. But let me just give you a little history. The property tax the law has been on the books of Trinidad and Tobago since 2009. But for whatever reason, several reasons, the tax was not collected. The government has indicated from January 2024, they're going to start collecting the property tax. And the big issue is how is it going to be computed? Property tax, and they're starting off with residential properties. So I see people asking why not commercial and industrial. I suppose they will do those after. But because the legislation provides for the taxation of residential, commercial, agricultural, and industrial, but we're starting off with residential property because, as you may be aware, that the Commissioner of Valuation has been over the last few years going around valuating the residential properties, right? So the way the property tax is calculated, it's based on it's 3% of the annual rental value of your property less 10%. Let me say that again. So most people they may say, well, I don't know how much to rent my property for, but you think about it. If it's a basic 3-bedroom house, 3 bedrooms, 2 toilets and bath, what do you estimate that will be rented for?
Yeah, it's about
3,000 a month.
3,005.
3,000. Let's say
Yeah, let's
3,000.
say 3,000 flat. Yeah.
Precisely. 3,000 a month by
By 12.
12. So that's
$36,000.
$36,000. You're entitled to get a 10% deduction from that. So you're taking off from 36. Let's say you take off 3,000. So that's $3,300 down. It's roughly. And you multiply 33,000 by 3%.
Percent of what that
Yes, and
33,000
3 by 3, that's under $1,000.
under $1,000. So
So
is it
so therefore,
that the people are assuming that they have to spend a big amount, or is it that they just
right.
don't want to spend at all? I'm
Because
trying to figure out which
a
part
lot
we
of
are.
people figure the property tax is how much your annual rental value is. They just think it's your annual rental value is $36,000. Some of them think it's that full amount. I remember when I first started, since 2016, I've been talking about it, and people were telling me, so the amount I can rent it for, I have to pay. No, it's not at 36,000. Remember, we said a 3-bedroom, 2 toilets and bath. We estimate that the rent per month could be 3,000. 3,000 by 12, that's 36,000 you'll get in a year. It's just a small fraction of that. You're deducting 10%, and then you're applying 3%. But people thought it was the 36,000 that you'll have to pay. And they thought they will have to sell their property now to pay the property tax. Now, I was asking Gerald, my husband, who grew up in England, his mother lives in England, all his siblings still live in England, and they have property tax also. And their property tax are much higher than ours.
And
our rates right now.
But this is a standard that you're telling me. This is written in law since 2009.
Right? Yeah.
And we're now in 2024. So we're coming upon pretty soon. Good Lord.
Just implementing this.
Just getting it on. Somebody has to be the bad guy to take on that, because I'm guessing it's all politically tied as well. Who is going to be the one to say, here's what? Enough is enough. We're going to start collecting on all fronts. Because when you think about the millions or even billions of dollars we don't get in tax revenue,
well, but
how much we lose in tax revenue? Because remember, the system is a lot voluntary, and if you feel like a good day, go and do it.
Loopholes. There's so many loopholes.
Exactly.
But you're on the right track. But what I want to also emphasize is, the way we get on here in Trinidad, as to why we have to pay. Do you know all over the world people pay property tax? In Barbados and it's higher. You name it. Jamaica, all the islands. It's a legitimate means of any government that any government uses to raise revenue. And what is it used for? To provide goods and services. All taxes are for that purpose. In this case, we heard that the property tax, what you're trying to collect, I don't know if people realize what the intention is, as stated in the law, is that they will give it to the municipal corporations to be spent to be taking care of our local streets, so our communities.
Or the URP programs, the cleaning the streets. I don't know.
Cemeteries.
I don't know who is in charge of our municipal area. Maybe I should find that out. Not in charge of the municipal so much, but whoever is in charge of the CPAP gang in our area and the garbage collection. Fantastic job. They don't miss. So even understanding that you're contributing to the payment of these things, you're benefiting from it, is where I think we need to get some kind of understanding. Because some will argue, are paying taxes, but are not getting this in return.
What I heard,
but then it has some person, you're not paying taxes, but you still want to get the benefits of it.
Well, I heard the government said that if in fact they have more people coming on board and paying, if everyone contribute their little fraction, it's to invest right back into our communities. Because you can appreciate, if garbage is not collected, if the drains are not clean, if the playing fields are not cut, what's going to happen? Your whole community, you yourself will enjoy being in your own community. Right now I heard them say there's a rat infestation. And they always said it's because they don't have as much funds. You see, right now, the services that you get, because you said the garbage collection is very good.
At some point,
It's just, it comes from the government, the consolidated fund. But now, when the property tax is implemented, the municipal corporations will have the right to collect it themselves. So they don't have to wait on central government to give them the money.
Exactly. And we hear the stories about late payment, who didn't get paid for 2 months. So now we could have the opportunity to eliminate that.
And they will have money.
And now we have a bit of a responsibility, or the municipal corporations have a responsibility to say, here's what, we are now giving you this money. I want to see the results of it. So there needs to be things also in place to make sure that responsibility is done.
They have a revenue source. The municipal corporations, they have a revenue source, so they can hire you or whoever else to provide services for your community. The municipal corporation will be providing services for their own communities.
And
So you
it's
contribute into that. That's what it's all
and
about.
when we look at it, I mean, sometimes we tend to we look at different countries and we compare them to our situations. But let's look at the United States, for instance. There are rich towns and there are poor towns. But also, when you look at the tax codes in those areas, those that actually pay taxes, at least enough amount of taxes, get to enjoy the benefits that comes out of the taxation in that area. So look at it like that. You're spending money or you're pooling your resources to make a community a better place. No, it doesn't take away the social issues because that's a completely other episode we have to discuss. But at least you have the revenue to start to get an improvement on life. You can start to look at no longer, like I said, the corporation has to wait till central government release some money so somebody can come and pave the road. Now your corporation now have access to that funds to ensure that you have that. I think it's
And
brilliant.
that's it. And it's
Yeah.
starting off with, as I said, residential properties.
Hmm.
They have not started with commercial properties, but the law provides for that. So gradually, they may start collecting the taxes for commercial properties. And the big hurrah about it is because people don't understand and they think you're starting off with the total rental value of the year. But it's just a small fraction, 3% of the annual rental value, less 10%. It wouldn't be more than $2,000 per annum.
Annual.
That is not per month,
Yeah.
it's per
Adam.
annum. And as I say, when you think about the services that you would get for it, and also I should mention, is only owners of property, and owners has a very broad meaning. Yeah? So I remember people were asking, but I'm just a squatter. I'm not the owner. But the way the legislation is drafted, it will cover you. You are occupying
Occupying.
that property. Even though you may be a squatter, you're occupying it, and you want lights, you want clean drains, and
Hmm.
everything.
And it's progress as well. I mean, at
Precisely.
some point, as even as a squatter, you want to be able
But
to even
you may get your certificate event.
what they call it, the deed of comfort.
You
Yeah.
may get your deed of comfort eventually. So you have to contribute. As you said, we cannot continue thinking, being us. We tend to feel entitled to so much.
Hmm.
We have to realize that all these services that we get, it's a cost. Somebody has
Yes.
to pay for it.
Somebody
But
has to pay
if you
for it.
think about it, we have I think, a very good healthcare system.
Hmm.
My brother has used it. My father has used it,
Hmm.
and they're all very complimentary of our health system. But to run a hospital and to pay
It's not
doctors
cheap.
isn't cheap. So where it will come from is also taxes and all.
Exactly.
So and property tax is just another way to collect more taxes.
But
But normally they have a tax for specific purpose, like the property tax, as I said.
hmm,
The intention when it comes on board is to spend it in your communities. You give it to the municipal corporation, or in the case of a REMA, that's a borough.
that's a more
So it'll
right.
give it to the borough. So you don't have to wait on central
Government to
government.
get things done.
You
Yeah.
they can get going with their own programs.
And I appreciate you breaking it down like that because we villainize taxes so
Mm-hmm,
much that we don't even recognize how we can benefit from the
mm-hmm,
use of taxes. And I guess because we don't understand it, so we don't have appreciation for it. Now, again, the whole topic of taxes is always touchy because we're not just battling giving up our money, we're battling the fact that we have so many of societal ills going on around us. So
mm-hmm.
sometimes we feel as if we don't get value for money, not realizing that doing part of us not being compliant or not making our contribution to, we're also contributing to some of the ills of our society or some of the things that we can't even enjoy. I'm not saying everything, because money can't solve everything, but it can definitely so take care of some things, you
And
know?
yes, and correct. You're quite correct. And that's what the minister says, that they want to convert the system they have now to the revenue authority, is because so many people are not compliant. I think he said something like there's a 7 billion shortfall every year.
Oh.
7 billion, that's a lot. That's a huge
7 billion with a B.
yeah, shortfall in the collection of
Percent of
taxes
taxes.
every year. So how do they address that? And they're thinking of ways, a
Yeah.
new administrative process, because obviously if they collect more money can be invested back
Back
into
into us. Yeah.
our society. As I told you, you're aware that the taxes are used to really provide us with goods and
Hmm.
services, and we touched on the Ministry of Health. That's one
Hmm.
you could imagine, a very expensive one.
Yeah.
And we have very, very well qualified doctors to take care of us.
Correct.
Remember during the COVID, and
Oh yeah, they
Arima
stepped
has
up. I am honestly, hands down,
yeah.
the teachers. the nurses, the doctors, the entire healthcare system, they really stepped up to the game.
Mm.
But keeping all those things running,
It takes
it
money.
takes money
Yeah,
to make it
yeah,
happen.
yeah, yeah.
You know?
And Reba has a very new hospital.
Oh,
You
yes,
remember it was
beautiful.
one of the original. It was used as a
Mhm.
COVID ward, and I had real state of the art
It
finishes. I
is
haven't been
beautiful.
there, but I
It is
supposed to,
beautiful.
right? So that's what taxes do. If we don't, if the government doesn't have a source of revenue, they cannot provide
Right,
us with those
tax.
services. And don't take it for granted. And we mentioned in that, there's some people, you're too young, I suppose,
Hmm.
they get free drugs also. But
Yes,
it's
from
free.
the
See
CDAP
that
program,
program. So
correct.
you may not benefit,
Mm.
but a lot of
Yeah,
people
people
may, you know.
benefit from that, being able to go and purchase these drugs. So even like the CDAP program, a lot of people benefit. From what I understand, a lot of places you go, even right within the Caribbean here, being able to walk up to the counter and be like, "This is my prescription. I need more drugs." Is unheard of.
Precisely. In the States, medical services are not free, right? And
You know,
state is supposed to be developed and first world
well,
and all that. Medical
you can't just
services,
walk in
and
and get.
drugs and fees very, very expensive. So we are fortunate in that sense because, again, we have to pay taxes to get all those services.
Yes,
And that's just, well, a few we touched on. If you think about sporting, the government has been investing a lot in
heavily.
sporting. And young people like yourselves and younger
Mm.
investing in sports. Last year, 2023, we held one of those youth games,
Yeah, we
and
held
you heard
it.
the
It
accolades
was
that was.
amazing. I was in Tobago Fair. It was
You saw
the
you were yeah.
facilities was absolutely
Ah,
amazing.
it was world. Yeah, it was
Yeah, yeah, it
men,
was international. It was
youth
the
game.
youth games. I can't remember exactly which one, but it was definitely
Youth Commonwealth game. I
yeah.
came to
Was it
yes.
Commonwealth Youth Games?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, and you saw that we got. I mean, the Minister of Sports. I think
Mm-hmm.
she should be praised and complimented for what
Definitely.
was done.
But
It,
taxes
But, but
paid.
but it would have been taxes that we have to put out all that, if you
Yeah.
understand it. There are a number of swimming programs because we did well in swimming. There are all the other sports that we have improved in. But again, it takes money for all that. The training programs for sports, the facilities, the
Yeah.
sporting program. And well, this government implemented Ministry for Youth, the youth,
Mm-hmm.
and they're being, training a lot of youths in the field, apprenticeship training in many, many
In many
areas. In
I even saw the one where we could learn about marine engineering, I believe,
Yes,
down
yes,
Chaguaramas.
yes, yes, yes.
And I always looked at that in terms of our education structure. Because I'm certified in a couple different disciplines as well. In welding, you could have go to school for welding specifically,
Uh-huh.
fabrication.
You were in the days where everything was free.
I
Yeah,
had the good times. I
yeah,
was, it
those
was,
were those were the very good days of Trinidad and
yeah, yeah,
Tobago. We
yeah.
had a lot of money, so there were a lot of training and education,
Mm,
vocational, technical, were free, and a lot of people take advantage of them. And that is what it's all about:
yeah,
educating the young people so that they can take care of themselves. And
exactly.
we get a lot of free things in Trinidad, and we have a sense of entitlement.
Hmm.
But don't take it for granted. It
Yeah,
takes money to do all
because it
that.
could be gone in an instant as well.
Yes, if the government has no money, if we don't pay our taxes,
Yeah. And we saw because we saw the ruling back of certain subsidies
uh,
because of our ability to afford it. So we saw the
mm,
subsidies on gas being rolled back a little bit there. Again, I'm not trying to politicize it. This is exactly what is happening.
yeah, this is reality.
This is the reality of when we spend money, where it goes, how it's handled. I know sometimes we deal with corruption on a different level, which is a topic for you gotta get somebody specific, you know. But how it's supposed to work, we are supposed to also help with the furtherance of our society. You know, I want to take a moment to celebrate a win. One of your wins. I want you to give us one win that you like to celebrate because we love to celebrate wins here that you can celebrate. Something that you've had over the past year, some goal or anything like that that you want to celebrate at this moment.
You have taken me off guard. I'm thinking about a win. I don't know. Is that just? I don't know.
Starting a program.
Well, yeah, I wanted to say that, but
That's all.
because okay, I had the idea, but
Mm.
to start it, to actually do it, it take a lot of effort. Gerald can tell you. I have to get up every day and work at it and work long hours, and I'm still working on it, still refining it because it is not. I haven't been so, and I'm excited. The responses so far has been encouraging, very encouraging.
So next time you're gonna have confettis and probably a little champagne to sell. I promise you're gonna get some confettis and champagne.
So if that's a win,
That is definitely, yeah. Well, give yourself a round of applause. You deserve that.
but I'm the type of person, I'm optimistic by nature. So I usually always think, positively about things. So I think throughout my life, I think most things were positive. Of course, there are always challenges,
Of course.
but I rise above them, and I think I'm very resilient.
So you stay winning. I like.
Yeah.
All right. So, Gillian, thank you so much for taking the time to come and chat with us. I mean, even I, as your younger cousin, I'm learning a lot more. As a business owner, I'm learning, and that's why I created this as well too. Not just to be able to communicate that to others, but it's also information to me. And you've brought the knowledge and the wisdom with regards to understanding our taxes, the role it plays in our society, the importance it plays, and how we can also use it to not benefit ourselves but help others in charity, and by extension, sorry, help our entire country as a whole. All right. So thank you. I'm gonna close off there.
Thank you very much for having me, and I must say I can learn from you also. In fact, I want to talk to you more about social media marketing.
I got you. I got you. All right. So thanks again, guys, for joining us here on Beyond the Business. Again, this is a space where entrepreneurs, business professionals, and creatives can easily tell their stories. We highlight some of their struggles, and of course, we celebrate all the wins that we've had thus far. All right. So till then, till the next time, I will see you here on Beyond the Business.
Bye bye. Thank you for having me, Abraham. That's a pleasure.
You're welcome.